Most of the chatter after Georgia's first game has been about the offense, but a lot to talk about on defense as well. Some new faces, new places. I'm Dayne Young. This is Brent Rollins. We do Film Don't Lie with UGAsports.com. We're presented by Breda Pest Management. Go to bredapest.com. The same folks who take care of Sanford Stadium and Stegman Coliseum and Foley Field, they can come to your house and take care of the pests that you have around there. Keep your house all nice and clean. And if you need your liquor cabinet to be restocked, ASW Distilleries, that's the folks to do it. Brent, overall defense, I don't know how much you can glean from it for the opponent. Georgia's going to play much more efficient offenses, much better quarterbacks, much better athletes, but there were still some good things, maybe some bad things too, overall in defense. We're just going to take a top-level glance of what Georgia did on defense.
Yeah, and it's one where for me, like especially on rewatch, way more concerned defensively than offensively because of and it's you watch individual players more. Like offense, it's scheme, it's big picture. Defense, I know the scheme, like I know exactly what they're going to do. Now I've seen it enough. I know how they play defense. Now I want to watch the individual guys and how they play in those roles, that what sort of is being asked of them. And there were, I put it on the vent earlier this evening, but some of the edge play, and we're going to get to one, I think, within this series, may have been some of the worst in the Kirby era.
Yeah.
Wasn't good. And we're a lot of things that the good that we're going to highlight was cleaned up by great players on the back end like Malachi Starks.
So Malachi Starks is one of the best players in the country. I am not saying that as hyperbole. You can barely see him on the screen at the beginning of this play. He's over here. If there's a defensive player of the game for Georgia against Tennessee Martin, it is Malachi Starks. Malachi starts over here and ends up making a tackle down here. Good recognition, super great athlete. Just love everything about this.
Yes, and like he was, in terms of Pro Football Focus grades, he was the highest graded player, and deservedly so. Like he was just flying around, and he was the one who, to me, looked like he was at a speed just different than everybody else. And that was noticeable. Bullard a few times was playing sort of fast like that, but it, for the most part, especially in the front seven, it looked like guys were just in slow motion a little bit, but not Starks. And this is one where you love the physicalness of Ingram Dawkins there on the edge, but again, you're not really going to be a playmaker right there. And that's, you have that to spill and to funnel, and you have guys out there. Dumas Johnson kind of dips back inside again. But again, when you have erasers like they have with Starks, Bullard, even some Tyke in this game, that's going to be the sort of cornerstone of their defense.
The one play of Smile Munden, I was like, oh yeah, he's that guy. Because you give me Smile at inside linebacker and Starks behind him, I feel pretty good about pursuit to the sideline.
Yes.
I think that's a special combination. This play, I primarily wanted to show because I there were a lot of new parts of the defensive line. I think you have some concerns with it, but I think when Georgia gets into pass rush mode, you're going to see 44 Jordan Hall, and you're also going to see Michael Williams, and running the stunts off of each other. We noticed this in the watch-along show. I think this has potential to be Georgia's special defensive line combination.
Yeah, and it's one where we know their games. This is how they rush. Interior games and edge pressure, or tackle and end twists consistently with stunts, or cross dogs with linebackers, which we didn't see any of that. We didn't need to this past weekend. But like I thought before the season that Michael Williams would kind of take that leap forward. And the biggest reason is, like you said, I think he's going to destroy people in the interior, because I think he's just the combination of speed and strength on the interior is going to, I think, win a lot, especially on known third down situations. Now, the interesting part will be is when you watch the rest of the pass rush components. Might an offense eventually only say, "Harry, we only need to worry about 13. We don't really need to worry about anybody else."
Yeah, like
that's
do we allocate all of our resources there?
Do we make sure that 13 is much like Jalen Carter a year ago? Do we make sure that 13 is accounted for in pass rush situations, and if somebody else beats us, okay? Because you just didn't see a lot of there was minimal true pass rush situations in this game, because of how quickly they were getting rid of the ball and side-to-side nature of how they were getting rid of the ball, things like that. But there weren't many wins when there were true pass rush situations. So that was my concern going into the season about the defense. It's still going to be a concern. But part of it that you can't sort of equate for or account for is the fact that the blitzing here is just minimal. Like, they're not bringing linebackers at all. Dumas Johnson is a beast as a pass rusher. You didn't need that. That's what's going to be interesting moving forward.
Yeah, the edge, I think there's a lot to you, at least in the first game, to be concerned about there. Jalen Walker gets swallowed up back in here on this play. I do like, this is Darius Smith, I'm pretty sure,
yes,
lined up
it
right
is.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Darius is thinner than most of edge rushers. He's tall, he's athletic. I like his fight on this particular play to kind of get taken into the backfield, but then come back to it. To me, it shows awareness, keeping his arms extended, not being completely stymied by a bigger player. He stayed a part of the play. I think that's something I can see him emerging as someone on the edge that can be pretty special for Georgia. He's got a lot of work to do, a lot of reps he needs to have. But I liked what I saw from Darius.
And he's going to have a third down role. Like, that's barring change. I think he's going to be consistently having a third down role.
Yeah. Next up,
just more speed, physicality, the word that Roddy loves. This is one where, like, he missed one early. He missed a tackle early where he went too low.
Tyke Smith.
And I thought, oh, Tyke, not again. Don't be that guy. And after that first miss, he started actually using his shoulder pads as opposed to tackling ankles. And he was good and really good the rest of the game. And if he's able to be physical in the star position and tackle, he's going to be a good player because he's always around the ball. Like, he does a great job of making and putting himself around the ball. It's just about the ability to make plays, I think, last year that was missing for him. And another year removed from the ACL, I think he's going to be that much better.
Textbook here in the sense of where's your help coming from? It's coming from the inside, right? So it's right here. So attack the outside shoulder, get leverage here, force everything to have to be bottled up if the ball carrier tries to go back that way. But do not let them get outside with a blocker here. Do not do that. And he did a good job.
Yep. It's either out of bounds or go inside.
Tyke had a great game. He did.
He did. Second highest graded player in the game. I think that might go up a little bit after review.
Next up here, a bit later.
Just coming downhill. Mr. Bullard is going. He's like him and Starks at safety. Now, what's going to be interesting is you saw a lot of Dan Jackson in the dime when they bring in that sixth defensive back, and Jackson went back to safety. Bullard kind of more roams and goes into a bunch of different places. But like, in a normal down sense, like, he's a really good player back there.
One thing that I noticed on this play, though, and he stood out later in the game to me, 33, C.J. Allen. Watch how quickly. A lot of time early. Look how quickly he's in the backfield here.
And what was interesting and what was interesting about him is he was that third guy. Like, Sorey started opposite JDJ, and then Allen was the third guy, and he almost seemingly got more reps. And I think from a snap count perspective, I think he was fourth on the team in snaps. Actually played 3 more snaps than Dumas Johnson. Yeah. So, like, a lot of CJ Allen. And that's one where obviously Munden comes back. Does he still possibly overtake Sorey and become that third guy? That'll be interesting to see. Now, that the other part of this play, this is the part that's just beyond concerning to me because Tramel Walthour can't play edge. I'm sorry. This is not good. This is just like, you got no business being down there. You're not making that play. And this was, to me, just the most glaringly, because it's not just him. It was Jalen Walker. It was Chaz. It was CJ Madden. Like, it was anyone that hung out in that world was lost. And not being Nolan Smith, obviously, which is a totally different animal, but still.
Yeah, I was saying you're going to ask them to be Trayvon Walker, and they're not.
And that's that's one area where there's going to be a lot of work from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, I think. And I think obviously personnel, I think, will change and play more. But one for me that I'm curious that we didn't get to necessarily see a lot of them. We look at how many snaps he played. 12 is Marvin Jones Jr. Like when you going to step up, bud? I think there's a spot where he can be that from an athletic presence, but also physical presence. So
I talked about Allen. I just wanted to show him hit somebody hard here.
This was a great sideline to sideline. Just go and shoulder pads. Bring the thunder.
This is a Georgia linebacker here, finding someone to hit. He looks time.
He looks a little Monty at 30. Monty Rice was 32, but just he's a physical kid, and
I think he may be a little bit faster foot speed than Monty.
Yes,
I think
I would agree. But that hit that looked like
Monty
that to me.
Physical tackling.
Tackling. You could say Roquan if you took the other 3 away, but no, Roquan's a different level.
The other defensive shout, just as a whole, not on this play, but Dan Jackson, I actually thought played pretty darn well coming back.
Yep.
So I thought,
and by the way, 38 different players got snaps.
Well, and watching LSU's secondary as that game is happening as we're recording this, Georgia's pretty darn fortunate because Georgia's secondary looks the part right now. Corner, we'll see. So
that's one that's interesting. And I do the X's and foes thing that I write up couple different plays, very sort of nerdy style, and draw a bunch of stuff. One play, and UT Martin, by the way, did some Ohio State film review and put Kamari Lassiter in a blender. It was an incomplete pass, but if teams are going to do certain things like that where they kind of, in essence, break Georgia's rules defensively, and it's a lot of deep crossing routes back against the grain, what Marvin Jones or Marvin Harrison Jr. Did, what Egbuka did, like that stuff. It worked again in this game, and they just didn't complete it because there was a little bit of pressure. That's something to me that's I'm going to watch for every game.
I'm going to be watching for your piece because I'm excited about that. I'm also going to be watching more Film Don't Lie because I want to go back and see what we did right and what we did wrong. People can subscribe if they want to do the same and say,
"Hit the thumbs up.
You're an idiot." That's fine. Don't care. Tell me I'm an idiot.
I comment on the YouTube thing all the time. I check it.
You go back and have conversations with everybody. You're much nicer than I am. Breda Pest Management. I do sometimes. Breda Pest Management, support them. ASW Distillery, support them. Brent, always enjoy doing this. We have more Film Don't Lie coming all season long here on UGAsports.com, YouTube, and Facebook platforms. We'll see you.